How you going, everyone? Today I have something special. This DeWalt DC988. This is actually a drill from work. It was long and forgotten, and the thing about me is that I really like the long and forgotten. I have a soft spot for them because once upon a time these long and forgotten things were, they had life, they had purpose, they had they had all the things that that sort of the new modern day stuff sort of accomplishes. But as time progresses and when people move on, the things that they depended on are left behind, and this here is one of those things. Now where I work, upon finding this, of course, I realized that it didn't need to be forgotten. It didn't need to be left behind. As technology and technology improves and things become better and all these other things, and this drill still drills. I'm not entirely sure how old this is or how long the people have had it, but the boss has had it sort of sitting in a sort of in a dusty cupboard. But going through the stats here, or for the drillers, you've got 3 speeds, 1, 2, and 3. You've got 22 torque settings, and then your drill and hammer mode. And believe it or not, this platform here isn't dead. You can still get batteries for them. Granted, I'm not entirely sure how good these would be, but they feel pretty solid. They're still nickel metal hydride batteries, and if you've seen other video that I did, it was a YouTube short. I caved into the corporate shill and made my own YouTube short about this drill upon discovering that the old battery worked. But then I discovered the battery charger, and then tried to charge the battery that still had a charge, and the charger was telling me that the battery was dead. And of course, with this brand new battery, well, if you saw that video, which I'm assuming that you hadn't, you could probably go ahead and watch it if you want. But this drill sounded sick. And with this new battery, it sounds slightly less sick. But of course, as you can see, it's it's had some time to mature, and the scars of life have taken its toll on this. So I asked my boss, I said, I want to take this thing home and clean it up, see if I can get it working just as good as new, which I'm not entirely sure if that's possible, but he said sure. And so here we are. We're going to do a tear down and deep clean of this drill. And we'll start by removing the back cover here. Yeah, okay, so the interesting about these is that it says ABS PC /TFF. So TFF, that'd be the overmolding, the plastic overmolding here, but ABS plastic, which is quite unusual. I wonder if the glass fiber reinforced is sort of like a later addition, but that's quite sturdy. Okay. Yeah, let me just can sort of see sort of like the ingress of dust in there. Like you can't distinguish anything. And okay, so there's the brushes just either side there. So I've got to. I'm thinking. Let me just get into this. I've got this, just a fiber brush here on a Dremel, and I'm just going to give this a little bit of a dremeling, and I'll get back to you. So, looking at this, these brush housings here are actually connected on. You've got these spade connectors here, and the wire on this is actually it's so stiff. Obviously, because it's old, and it's basically just sort of, the plastic has sort of, or the insulation has gone hard over the years, but the insulation goes right up to the spade connectors here. You can sort of see just here, the insulation goes all the way up to the spade connector. In some tools, you see that there's like a little bit of, there's a little bit of a shortage of insulation there. So I really, really like that. But I'm thinking if I want to be able to do this without damaging these, I've got to take off this clamshell and take off this half of the clamshell to be able to sort of finagle the wire around. Yeah, because there's obviously got to be excess wire in here somewhere. So I'll get back to you. Are you ready? What the hell? Ah, okay. Ooh, boy. Okay. Yeah. That's a complicated gearbox. Well, yeah. Ooh, that gearbox is so dry. And ooh, yeah. No, well, maybe not completely dry, but it's very grainy. Okay. Yeah, no, we need to work on that. Permanent magnet DC motor. Good solid heatsink there. Real nice solid switch there. There doesn't seem to be a detent. Sorry, like a rubber detent there to prevent the ingress of dust, but man, that copper heatsink is, and look at the size of the motor. I wonder if that's just like the plastic covering. In any case, I know that these brush housings can actually be replaced. So however it is that I can actually get in there in order to clean that commutator, there's got to be a way. Okay, so that's that plastic covering off this there. What is that? PA6 glass fiber, 33%. So they actually did have it. They actually did have glass fiber reinforcing back then, back in the olden days. I wonder what that was for. That went on this side, just there. Sorry if I'm not actually showing stuff in the camera there. Let me just get a rag and clean up this dust off of this. If you're wondering, all this dust here is actually powder coats. I'm sure there's somebody going to go, you should really... I mean, of course, I am being careful with this. I work with it. It's, man, look at the way they've connected the motor here together. I have never seen that before. Look at that. It's like a jigsaw puzzle. That's just gorgeous. Who made this? Here we go. Oh, well, okay, so the switch mechanism, the switching came out too. So there's the codes there for the motor. I'm not entirely sure. who would have made it. But let me just get this brush here on this switch again so I can I'll get a toothbrush as well, because toothbrushes on this, you know, on this kind of stuff here, you know, indispensable. Toothbrush, wonderful addition to your toolbox, especially if you're doing this kind of thing. I'm going to pause this for a second because pause my pausing, I should say, because I want to remember this purple wire goes on the side with this coating here. The brown wire goes on the side with the brand, which is a Mark Heart. That's cool as. There's your battery terminals right there. Good copper terminals though. They don't seem to be zinc plated to prevent you know, to prevent corrosion and stuff. That's a bit peculiar. I'll probably get sort of like a, you know, little thing in there to sort of to clean up these terminals here, because that might also be a bit of a problem. But these spade connectors are coming off quite nicely. But maybe I should write it down actually. Let's see. Purple equals heat sink side. Love classy days. Looking at the clamshell here, it says prc.abs/TPC. So it's obviously TPC overmolding here, which is this handle here. There's a couple anchor points here. You can actually see just here. I can't actually tell whether or not this here is a result of the trigger being just, you know, used in and out constantly, or if that's a result of, you know, after it was sort of dealt with. There's actually sort of quite a peculiar little detent just here that almost looks like this here almost looks like they've gone in there after the fact, and then they've sort of smoothed it back over with some acetone, because the thing with acid, actually, no, this is because you can see just around here too how the ABS has sort of been worn down from batteries being pulled in and out and in and out and in and out just constantly. That is crazy. This thing has had a life. I just realized the drill had one of these things. One of these little trackers, but we don't need that anymore. I'm still trying to work out how to take this. I'm thinking maybe I just open up these 4 tabs at the back here. I mean, that'd just be mild steel, wouldn't it? Or yeah, just mild steel. There's a bit of rust. I mean, it might be stainless, but you can kind of hear how tired this motor is. Like the bushings are just, like the bushings are dry. That there's, I think the, you know, because the commutators on this are just really dirty. You know, one of the most handy tools that you can have, you know, especially for this sort of thing, is a head torch. So I'm going to have to pull this here out with a pair of tweezers. Is that entirely possible? It should be. I'm not saying it might be, but it should be. Because, you know, clearly I know exactly what I'm doing here. And I can't tell. Is that powder? You know, that's just powder coat. Yeah, so this whole brush housing here is basically just choked up with just layers upon layers of powder coat. But I know that if I undo these two here, that this brush housing will be able to sort of come out this way. So I don't actually have to take off this back plate here. I just need to pull these two tabs back in order to get to the brush housing. Because apparently you can replace these brush housings. So they've built this motor to last. But this looks like there's still quite a bit of brush material in there. I mean, you can sort of see just how much material they've used here. Let me just actually get another torch here rather than a head torch. But you know, they've gone. It's used at least well more than half of the actual brush itself. You know, so as per my analysis of the casing or the clamshell, this drill has lived. But I'll get back to you if I can get into this. One of the design oversights that I can see here is that there's nowhere to actually put the spring when you take the brush housing out, because that brush housing is nearly out of there. Let me just find some way that I can actually hold the spring so it doesn't go springing and springing everywhere. You know, for something that drills, things that hammer seem to have worked really well as a tool to hold this together. Look at that. Who needs spring detents when you have nails? Hey, look at that. That there is your brush. You can sort it. Oh, hang on, sorry. Let me just get the torch on here. So that there's your brush and the brush housing. So let me just give this a clean up. Sorry, you probably want to see me clean this up, eh? I was not paying attention there. Who wants regular YouTube when you have irregular YouTube? And I'm just using this brass wire brush on here for these brass connectors. Yeah, okay, so oh, hang on. I nearly lost you. Yeah, so the brush is actually staked onto the thing here, which means you can't actually just buy the brush separate to the housing. You have to get the housing along with it. But it looks like the connector is actually very dirty on here, so the good thing we're actually getting into here and giving it a good clean. Give the surface of that brush a bit of a clean too. We'll see if we can actually. I need something soft to actually push this brush up through there. Do I have anything soft? See, because if I try to push it with something hard, maybe a pencil. I hope the graphite doesn't damage it. Yeah, so there's about, can you see that? Yeah, okay, so there's about as much of the brush as there is, but now I want to get into here and there isn't very much brush left, so at some point, yeah, you can sort of see the brush is nearly down, nearly done. She's nearly down for the count, but just clean all this junk out of here, because that seems to be one of the problems, that this brush here just was not moving, and it needs to move freely in there in order to make decent contact, because otherwise the spring is just pushing up against the resistance, you know. The resistance of all of this dust and powder coat. And I'm going to assume that watching me scrape away at this is going to be just boring, so I'm just going to stop it here. Yeah, so that's not perfectly clean, but you can sort of see that the brush moves in there real nice and real nice now. Which is exactly what we want. Now we got to put this back in the motor and get to the other one. Right. Now to put this back in the motor, I know this part here was the part that went down and in. I might actually will that work? Actually, before I do that, I want to be able to get into there, because the inside of that motor is quite dusty. I won't be able to actually get into the commutators there and give that a good clean, because I don't actually have a brush or a tool or type of tool that I can use to actually get in there and give it a good, actually, what do we have here? That might do it. So let's see what kind of chaos I can commit by driving that a little bit too far into the, okay, there we go. All right. I tell you what, these commutators are really worn. I'm not entirely sure how many there are, but I'll just keep doing this until I'm happy with the results. But doing this really makes it nice and bright, which is exactly what I want. I want a good, clean surface. Of course, it's not going to be totally clean all the time, but powder coat, when it gets hot, has a tendency to melt. That's what it's designed to do. Especially on commutators, you don't want that to be melting onto these, because these commutators, they get hot. They get really nice and warm, which is not exactly the sort of thing that you want. Because the whole point is intentioned for electrical connectivity, which is, you know, pretty straightforward if I have to be honest, but I think that's a pretty good looking connection. So the next thing we've got to do is we've got to get this in here. Oh, hang on. Maybe we've got to hold that. There's one hand. There's got to be an easy way to do this, surely. I'm sure there is. I really should have just done my research. There's got to be a way that I can just grab this. Oh, no. You've gone ahead and done that, haven't you? Okay. Maybe if I hold that like that. Yeah, so I've got to basically sort of pull that like that and then use a screwdriver to basically drive that into there. Then I can use the pliers to grab this. Hang on. That's still not. Okay. I need something to be able to push down on this. If I'm using that to do that, then I want to use that. Can you see that? Yes. That to do that. Everything about this is annoying. Come on. Okay. Can I just use that to... All right. Well, that works. That worked. Works. That was. If you accidentally bust a hole in your brush, chances are she's worn out. There's like just a tiny bit of brush in there, but you know, I think that should do. I'm actually going to get new ones of these because these brushes are just so old and worn, and you can get new ones of these. That's the crazy part. But the fact that the brush can actually be pushed down even just like a tiny bit further, that's a, yeah, look at that. It's like barely anything there. It might be good for a day. We'll put this back in the motor and then we'll get working on the gearbox. Let's hear how the motor sounds. Now that all that's been sorted. That sounds 1,000 times better. Alright, for this gearbox here, I'm actually going to do is probably a part 2 video, because this recording is actually running on for 51 minutes and 20 seconds. I don't actually know how to get this. I probably shouldn't be turning that upside down like that. What am I doing? Hold on. None of the pieces have fallen out, obviously, because the grease is all janked up. But you can sort of see just down in there, if you can, that there's actually no way to take the chuck off. So yeah, I'm actually going to break this video down into, a couple pieces, 3-4 parts. And I'm going to do the gearbox in another recording, and I'm going to do the gearbox without stopping, because if I mess up or anything like that, there's a good chance that I don't want to lose where I'm at, because I fixed plenty of gearboxes for other drills, 2-speed gearboxes, but I'm not entirely sure how DeWalt's 3-speed system works. If it's anything like other drill bits or other drills, it should be pretty basic, but one thing I do want to do is I want to get into the clutch mechanism here and fix that, because even if you turn it down to 1, it's almost as though it's stuck on drill mode. So I'm not too sure about that. Again, really sorry about if this is really boring for you guys, but sort of, I'm trying to do sort of like without like non-scripted here. Hopefully sort of that other people, like this. So yeah, hopefully you like that, and anybody who got to the end here, well, congratulations. I don't actually know. Here's a well-worn brake pads that I found on the side of the road. That's my gift to you. So you have a good one.